Well, the finish line is waiting for them, 13 knots of boat speed or thereabouts for Team Brunel as they close down that last mile or so to the finish. We've already seen the other boats finish. Team Axonabel taking the win, Sununkai Saligwag in second place, and then unbelievable scenes as Mafre took third, stole it from Di Cafaris, turned the tide on Plastic, who ended up finishing behind Dongfeng Race Team. And a little bit of movement now from the crew on the deck, but there's no one around them for this finish. They are at the back, and at the back by some way. And let's just remind ourselves exactly what happened and why it is that we're seeing Team Brunel in such a rough position coming in, because they were leading. And indeed, in this point, around about New Caledonia, they were still doing well.
They were still in fourth place, and all to play for, because they had the two red boats well behind them. And you can see that here that they broke away from the fleet. They decided essentially to sail on a very tight angle, heading straight towards New Zealand, sort of trying to cut the corner on that inevitable curve that they had to do around the anticyclone. And going into stealth mode and really sort of gambling almost, going with a completely different strategy. Navigator Andrew Cape, it's going to be interesting to see if we can, well, he's a bit elusive, so we might not get an interview with him on the dock. But you know, I was surprised to see them try something so different, and clearly it didn't work out for them. So I'm not I meant to be able to find some positive in there, but not really sure what they were up to.
I don't think we have to. I think that Bauer Becking would be. You know, it would be a mistake for us to sort of sugarcoat everything. And right now, rightly so, this team can be disappointed. And indeed they were. If we look at the boat feed over the last couple of days, we know that they have found this final ride into Auckland. You know, everything was up for grabs 3-4 days ago, and then it all evaporated. And evaporated very quickly indeed. And that's a slap in the face.
Well, yeah, and particularly when you see just how fast the red boats were able to get back in the mix of things. That, you know, that they were in behind them, they passed them way up at New Caledonia. The yellow Dutch boat Brunel was way in the back, and they were sort of chasing the rest of the fleet on their coattails. And the red boats got past, turned the tide on Plastic. Mafre and Dongfeng Race Team got back up into the valuable points, and these guys are just sort of left trailing in the back. And this is not what we expected, not what we wanted for Team Brunel. This is most notably the 8th edition of this race for veteran skipper Bauer Becking, and we thought that loading up his team with America's Cup talent, most notably Carlo Hoosman and Peter Burling, who were on Emirates Team New Zealand together, know these waters very, very well. But it doesn't seem to have been converting into a consistent attack on the podium.
No, and maybe one of the reasons why this feels, it does feel pretty hard to watch a team, fall off the high standards that they've set themselves. One little slip from where they were leading. One of the reasons why that's particularly tough is we've seen some real elation from some of the teams getting their first leg win, Team Axonabel, and also such an incredibly exciting close finish. We know that you guys are watching at home. You've been enjoying the arrivals as much as we have. Cynthia Street has written, so exciting to see everyone sail into this beautiful harbour, amazing finish. And it has truly been amazing. Neo Claire, go Team Brunel. Well, yeah, we can cheer them on. We can really want the best for them, but there is no way around it. This leg, or certainly the position that they're in right now, it does not reflect how close it was a couple of days ago. But everybody needs to be aware now, if you're racing in the Volvo Ocean Race fleet, doesn't matter how big your buffer is, you could still lose it all in the last final push. And Team Brunel going through the finish line in just a few moments' time. And the big masthead up along with J3. Still plenty of breeze in the harbour, and it's been an easy reach into this finish line. A few little jives off at the heads, but nothing crazy for these boats. Not like some of the scenes that we saw at Lisbon, indeed, where some of the anchors had to come out when the breeze died away. But now the flashing yellow light, the other end of the finish line, and Team Brunel will sail through. Peter Burling on the helm, Andrew Cape, the navigator, just standing to the left of him, and the rest of the team just furling away the big masthead sail at the front as they come through the finish line, and well, we wouldn't expect to see any celebrations here.
Well, certainly not. And as you said, it's sad.
Well, one of the things that I'm just wondering here with Team Brunel, I mean, they've had a really bit of a tough leg here, and it's interesting to see some of the comments that you guys at home are putting through. You know, we've got one from Artu Lovro, who just writes: review failure and mistakes, learn the lessons, and renew the teamwork spirit. Go for it, Team Brunel. And actually, you are completely right. We can review, we can look at it, and you know, Conrad, we've been waiting for Team Brunel to find their speed. Would it be fair to say that there hasn't actually been anything wrong with their speed? They have been pacing very well, outpacing Mafre and Dongfeng in the first week of the race. What lost it for them was one tactical, strategic error.
Yeah, in many cases, that's exactly right. You know, we've had the incredible benefit of having Annie Lush on the show, and so she has been coming in and talking to us about the fact that they put on their new mainsail. They were very happy with the shape of it. And so you can see the strategy of the sales strategy of the team sort of coming into play. They had, you know, a fresh engine on board the boat at the beginning of this leg, and they were sailing incredibly well. And so in many ways it is frustrating because of that, even more so, because they struggled early on for pace in the legs. They changed out their rudders. That helped them a lot. And now they put on their new mainsail, but that was a bit of a gamble, because remember, there was their new mainsail going across the doldrums. And if you can remember that I spoke with North Sail's president Ken Reid a couple of days ago, he said that taking a mainsail across the doldrums is more damaging than going through the Southern Ocean. And so a bit of a gamble there. They were trying to get back into the mix of things. They had the speed early on. They let it, you know, either they let it go, or they took the eye off their ball, or they just got punished in the doldrums. You know, but they were still in the top half of the fleet, and then sort of gambled it all.
Well, certainly there's going to be a lot to take away from this leg. You know, us as analysts, we've been really poring over it on Team Brunel, but you know, you guys as well, watching the race, everyone's making their own conclusions. Conrad, earlier on, you know, yesterday you spoke to Grant Dalton, one of the Kiwi sailing legends, and somebody who knows a lot of the sailors very well on this boat, because as you were saying, a lot of America's Cup sailors on board Team Brunel, and you were asking him to reflect on some of those key aspects of sailing.
I'd like to ask you about is the effect that this race has had on your life. First of all, my producer Digby, he says that you like this race a lot more than America's Cup. I'd like to see if you can comment on that one.
Oh, I make no secret of the fact that I like the Volvo race, or the Whitbread as it was, more than the America's Cup. And there's a number of reasons for that. I mean, hopefully we're able to change the America's Cup for the better. But in the Volvo, your opposition are your friends, because, well, for no other reason, they're the ones that are going to fish you out of the Southern Ocean. In the America's Cup, if you fall over, the opposition put their foot on your head to hold you under. And you know, if we're able to change that culture that has ended up in the America's Cup in recent years, we will. But that's the main reason. And I think that I like the round the world race just because of that whole camaraderie. You're with your mates. You know, you're battling together. You're suffering. You're winning. You're losing. You're doing everything together. And that whole camaraderie is very much a part of the round the world race. And it's a tough race. I mean, it's got its highlights and its lowlights. I mean, I can guarantee there's not much talking going on in Brunel at the moment. I mean, they'll just be beaten. They'll be broken-assed. So you have to live those highs and those low emotions. And the problem with the round the world race is the lows can go for a hell of a long time, because you know you're going to be last for a hell of a long time. For weeks sometimes, and I've been there. And whereas at least in America's Cup race, you know you're going to get beaten only right at the very end or in the last leg. So it's character building, and you've got to bounce. You know, Brunel will have to bounce from this, or they are going to lose the round the world race. Yep. If they're not careful. So you know, it's a hell of a race in that respect.
Now you've got Blair on Mafre, who's currently leading the race, and you've got Peter on Brunel, who's very much not. Can you sort of talk us through the psyche of what's going to be going on as a result of that?
Oh, I don't think anything at all, really. It's just it's a different environment for them. And you know, they'd probably like to beat each other, but no more than they want to beat everybody, and probably less than the guys want to beat on other boats want to beat them. You know, so they get invited to the all those bloody glamour parties that they seem to be in the newspaper about here at the moment. So I don't think there's any new dynamic created by that. They're close friends. They're friends of ours and lots of other people's. And you know, it's just they're just both sailing as hard as they can.
Can you give us an update on the Cup?
We announced the boat rule on the 31st, and we'll share that with the competitors on the 15th. So the protocol was announced last year. So this is the rule of the boat itself, which the guys are, I mean, you know, 10 metres from me are working on flat stick. In terms of how the venue thing ends up or when it ends up, I haven't got a bloody clue. You've probably got more idea than I have. It's just, you know, it's just work in progress, and we're just trying to get it done so that we can have a great event here. Excellent.
Sounds good. Well, more than anybody, you're somebody who's benefited from the ambiance there in Auckland, the city of sails, and I wish you all the best for putting on the next big event.
Yeah, thanks, and looking forward to having the boats here, and you know, the city embraces it, the country embraces it, and all the Kiwis that are coming home that are still ahead of Pete and Blair, they'll be pretty happy about that. I tell you, that's how people they'll be thinking. Don't worry about that, because I know how people think. Well, you do too.
You're exactly right. So indeed, the key takeaway there from Grant Dalton is not only the fact that in the city of sails, clearly Auckland knows how to put on an incredible welcome for the Volvo Ocean Race, but most notably, talking about Brunel, the boat that has just crossed the finish line, they are going to have to be talking about, you know, how to learn from this. You know, he said that this is character building for Peter Burling, somebody who has been willing to, or who has been at the top of his game in many different classes and winning the Olympics and also the America's Cup. And there's just so much talent on board that boat that is used to being at the pointy end of the race. So I think that, you know, this is potentially a big learning opportunity, and they can need to learn how to bounce back from this moment. Essentially, well, at the back of the fleet, it's getting 6 out of 6 boats across the line in this leg. And then remember that we've got Bauerbecken, who we'll be talking to later when they hit the dock, has such a depth of experience in the Southern Ocean, and that is the next leg coming up. And so it's really going to be a test of the champions on board to see whether they can do a mental reset, say, okay, you know, learn something from this one, and then move on for the next.
And you bringing that talent forward. I mean, Bauerbecken, the skipper of Team Brunel, this is somebody who's doing his 8th Volvo Ocean Race. He's got 3 seconds, 2/3. I mean, the last edition, it was a 2nd place finish. So this is surprising to see Team Brunel at the back. But let's remind ourselves here that this all happened in that last few days. This leg was actually a really strong start for Team Brunel. We're going to take a little bit of a break while we wait for Team Brunel to get to the dock before we can hear from the sailors themselves. But we're going to leave you, before we go to the break, with the view from the boat of what was an unbelievable start to leg 6 that ended with a bit of a tough finish.
And now we're still up there, so it's a little different from how we usually start the legs, which is good. I think Auckland is over there, and we're going, I don't know why, but KP must have a really good reason that we're going there.
No, we seem to have made a little gain as to what we were doing earlier on. So we gained a little bit, but the others are probably a little bit ahead of us still, especially the Dongfeng guys. They seem to be going pretty quick. No, we're struggling a little bit at the moment. Hopefully it's just pressure and we'll get it back at some stage soon, but not quite sure.
It makes you realize what you're racing for when you get that close and you get to actually just trade inches with another boat.
But I think the guys in the end of the fleet, they will catch up. I think that might be the key of the leg.
Disappointment.
Brutal.
Very disappointing.
I'm sad. I don't know what to say. Everybody's disappointed.
Rivals for leg 6, Hong Kong to Auckland. Team Brunel across the line a few moments ago, and now they have made it into the dock. I'm joined by Conrad Coleman. And Conrad, we've been talking before about Team Brunel. They haven't had the best leg, or certainly they haven't had the best finish to what was actually a decent start to the leg. And now Bauer Becking taking the boat in. It will be very interesting to see the mood on board this team, because I think if you'd have stopped this leg halfway through,
they would have been thrilled.
They would have been
loved it. You know, they came out of the, they came out of Hong Kong absolutely guns blazing. You know, they led the fleet across the South China Sea all the way past Taiwan. They held their nerve when they saw their Dutch rivals, Team Ex Nobel and Sun Kai Skyweg, split off to the north. And so they were in the hunt all the way across the Pacific, and then it started to get a little bit complicated once they hit the doldrums.
And certainly from there on, I mean, they were still in that hunt, they were still there, but we've talked about it before, that move, that one moment, you called it a bold move at the time, I certainly thought it was a gamble, to go just to the lee of New Caledonia. It didn't work well for them. They did it in stealth mode as well, and sadly, nothing came good. But we can hear from the sailors themselves. There is the legend, the veteran of the Volvo Ocean Race, Bauer Becking. This is his 8th Volvo Ocean Race, and behind him, Peter Burling, just getting himself ready to get onto the dock. It's been a very long leg for all the teams, not least for Team Brunel. But one thing very quickly to reflect before we hear from the sailors here, Conrad, is, well, I tell you what, I might ask you in just a moment, because now we can hear from Bauer Becking himself.
It's a bit of a shocker, of course, becoming last, because it's the first time in my career actually coming last into a port. So yeah, that's a bit of a downside, but of course it's always awesome to arrive in Auckland, because everybody just loves the sport over here.
Awesome, and you guys contested pretty well at the front of the fleet. The boat seemed to be going well at times, so you'll take a lot of confidence into the next leg.
Yeah, the boat actually felt really well, and yeah, everybody saw the mishap what we did, and yeah, that's of course that's very sour, but we take a lot of good things back from this leg.
Awesome. Well, you guys did well. Look forward to the next leg. Thank you, Bauer.
Bauer Becking, skipper of Team Brunel, being pretty pragmatic, and then he says actually boat was feeling pretty well. Interesting to hear him say about finishing into this the first time he's finished into a port and last. But now Peter Burling, the Olympian, the America's Cup winner, the famous Kiwi sailor. Let's hear him reflect on this leg.
Welcome home, mate. It was a tough finish for you guys out there. Bit bittersweet, but must have felt good coming home.
Yeah, you know, obviously, you know, one mistake on the tactics and you pay pretty big for, you know, a fair few days, and it was pretty tough going there for the last week, but, you know, we felt like we, you know, tried to battle our way back, and, you know, got a few hours behind, which was obviously a bit of a tough leg, but, you know, what can you do? You know, great to sail back into Auckland. It's been amazing sailing down the coast all day.
You guys had some nice conditions sailing down there, chewing into the miles and the rest of the fleet, but unfortunately you just ran out of runway.
Yeah, well, I think we got to within 30 miles on that last skid, so, you know, we thought we might have had a shot if the breeze filled from behind, but, you know, then it seemed to just fill kind of for everyone at the same time, so, no, it was a bit of a shame, but, yeah, you know, we probably didn't really deserve a shot at the end of there anyway.
Well, Pete, America's Cup, Olympic gold, how's this race going? Different challenge?
Yeah, definitely a different challenge. You know, it's a you know, pretty fun adventure, and you know, we're pretty tired after this, pretty long leg, yeah, over 20 days, so, no, it's, you know, a good bit of fun, but, yeah, definitely a tough one.
Well, Pete, it wasn't the leg you were looking for, mate, but you're still a hero down here. Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Burling.
So interesting to hear him talk about the fact that there's just one strategic challenge that sort of threw them out the back of the race. You know, interesting to think back to leg 2, where we saw Dongfeng race team very much in the same situation.
Yes.
We had navigator Pascal Bidegory, who said that who went not 24 hours in stealth mode like these guys, but sort of overslept basically for 2 hours going into the side of the of an anticyclone. Again, it was an anticyclone in the southern hemisphere that tripped them up. And it just shows how brutal this race is. You know, one mistake over the course of 20 days and you're just out the back.
But it was a finish, and it was a brutality that I don't think many people really expected. And just to see the morale on the boat, I mean, yes, upbeat, yes, they're professionals. They kept going. I mean, I don't think there was any chink in their armour in that sense. But watching the boat feeds coming off, they did take a dive down, because it hit like a sledgehammer when those miles were lost.
Well, yeah, you know, they were pretty ballsy. You know, they backed their move. They said this is us trying to do something a little bit different here. And you know, from very much on a high with that upswing, you know, when the results came out, you know, it was fairly evident that they didn't have to, that it didn't work for them. And going back to what Grant Dalton said, he said that this race is really tough because if you're in last place, you know you're in last place for a week. You know, it's not like you can slip up at one moment and then turn it around half an hour later.
Well, we are just about past the halfway point of the Volvo Ocean Race, so let's just remind ourselves of the scores. After leg 6 has been concluded, these are the provisional results, but we're fairly confident about them. On the finishing order of leg 6, Team Axel Nobel taking the win and a maximum 8 points. That's 7 points plus the bonus. Team Sun and Kai Scallywag second, and then Maffrey takes the last spot on the podium, just pushing Turn the Tide on Plastic down behind the Chinese-French team into 5th. But let's see how this now affects the overall scoreboard. Maffrey still on top and still looking strong with 39 points. Dongfeng Race Team in 2nd place, but with some work to do. Sun Hunkai Scallywag move up into 3rd place on the podium. And Team Axel Nobel versus 11th Hour Racing, joint points. So that is the positions of the overall scoreboard, or at least provisionally until they get ratified by the official race control team. We are looking forward to an unbelievable stopover in Auckland. It has been a long time coming, but everybody has been talking about the City of Sails. It deserves its reputation as a place where you can come in after a 5,600-mile leg to a very warm welcome, even if you are here in the middle of the night. We've got import racing to come. Then, of course, we've got the leg start back into the Southern Ocean. It's going to be pretty full on. I mean, Conrad, for those people that haven't been down there to Auckland, for those people that have still yet to get a flavour of the city, I mean, what's it going to be like for these teams now?
Well, it's going to be one of the best stopovers. Excuse me, I'm not very biased here because I pointed out that I was born and bred in Auckland, but it's going to be a great stopover. And right in the middle of it is going to be the import race. I'm going to be jetting down there in a couple of days, and I look forward to seeing the action out on the water myself and hopefully bringing you some commentary. And then the leg start is amazing. All of the little islands in the Haurahi Gulf that the yachts had to navigate around on the way in, well, it's, you know, wind the tape backwards, you know, only it's more challenging this time. You don't typically go out the Rangitoto Channel. It's sort of in and out of the little islands all the way through. There's an epic flotilla that is going to accompany them as they leave. But that's in a couple of weeks. They've just made it in. They've got, I think, as Charles said, one hand on a burger, one hand on a beer, and it's clearly a warm welcome even at 2 o'clock in the morning, as you said. And so something that's really special is going on right now.
Well, there you go. A very special stopover indeed, but don't just take our word for it. That is it for the arrivals, but we're going to leave you of the images that we've seen Auckland display over the previous editions of the Volvo Ocean Race. This is going to be a fantastic stopover, and as the race continues, the Volvo Ocean Race fleet are certainly finding their form, and things are hotting up.